Hi, welcome to Building Bridges Ministry. I'm Joe. Today's topic is going to be kind of a little bit of a heavy topic. I'm going to be talking about depression, and it's a struggle that everybody goes through. And what I would like to try and to share and encourage you with is that a process in which how do we walk with depression with Christ? How do we, on our moments of depression, how do we overcome it? Okay? So we're going to start off in 1 Kings chapter 19. We're going to read through 1 through 13. This is about Elijah. He just gets done killing all the Baal prophets, and he's in a bad light with Jezebel, and he is going to be in a situation like we've been in before. Okay? So here we go. When Ahab got home, he told Jezebel everything Elijah had done, including the way he had killed all the prophets of Baal. So Jezebel sent this message to Elijah: "May the gods strike me and even kill me if by this time tomorrow I have not killed you, just as you killed them." Elijah was afraid and fled for his life. He went to Beersheba, a town in Judah, and he left his servant there. Then he went on alone into the wilderness, traveling all day. He sat down under a solitary broom tree and prayed that he might die. "I have had enough, Lord," he said. "Take my life, for I am no better than my ancestors who have already died." Then he lay down and slept under the broom tree. But as he was sleeping, an angel touched him and told him, "Get up and eat." He looked around, and there beside his head was some bread baked on hot stones and a jar of water. So he ate and drank and lay down again. Then the angel of the Lord came again and touched him and said, "Get up and eat some more, or the journey ahead will be too much for you." So he got up and ate and drank, and the food gave him enough strength to travel 40 days and 40 nights to Mount Sinai, the mountain of God. There he came to a cave where he spent the night. But the Lord said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Elijah replied, "I have zealously served the Lord God Almighty, but the people of Israel have broken their covenant with you, torn down your altars, and killed every one of your prophets. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too." "Go out and stand before me on the mountain," the Lord told him. And as Elijah stood there, the Lord passed by, and a mighty windstorm hit the mountain. It was such a terrible blast that the rocks were torn loose, but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake there was a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire there was the sound of a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his cloak and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. So, we have this little voice, this nice gentle voice, that through all this chaos, and isn't that how depression comes about, is the chaos that we have in our minds, from wherever it starts from. Some days you could be having a good day and then all of a sudden it hits you. Or you could be struggling with it for long periods of time. This story shows that in those moments we need to step back for a moment and rest in God's word. Okay? And we have Elijah hearing this gentle voice, and I can imagine that voice is saying to Elijah that everything is going to be okay. Be calm, rest for a moment, and relax. Remember that I am with you. Okay? So, depression is a tough thing. I know I have moments that I go through it, and I'm very grateful to be able to reflect on moments that God has done great things for me and helped me through situations that may have been worse or whatever than what I'm thinking at the moment. And I'm grateful for that fact because I can reflect on Him to help me push through whatever that depression is or whatever that moment in my life is going on with. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity. Now, depression is a very tough thing. It can really grab a hold of you, and it's not an easy thing to step away from or to get it off your shoulder. But what I'm trying to show you here today is to give you encouragement that when you're going through those moments, that you really aren't going through those moments by yourself, that you have Christ right alongside of you, and He's engulfing you in those moments, and He's shedding tears for you just as much as you were crying. That is the great thing about Jesus, is that He walked on this earth and was able to see and walk life out as we did, and to see the struggles that we struggle with, and to know what that feels like. So let's go to Luke 8. Oh boy, I lost my little. There we go. Luke 8. We're going to look at chapters 23 to 24. This is another example of a storm in somebody's life, and Jesus is able to calm the situation out. So, 8:23. As they sailed across, Jesus settled down for a nap. But soon a fierce storm came down on the lake. The boat was filling with water, and they were in real danger. The disciples went and woke up, shouting, "Master, Master, we're going to drown." When Jesus woke up, He rebuked the wind and the raging waves. Suddenly the storm stopped, and all was calm. So, in our moments that we have chaos going on in our lives and we feel out of control of it, we need to take a pause, take that breath in and out to reflect on the situation and to be calm during those situations. Because I know when I get angry, there's very similar things going on between anger and depression. It's just how we react. Depression, generally people pull themselves back, hide away. Angry people, we just yell, scream, and holler, or have outbursts. But in those situations, we got to pause for a moment before we open our mouths and or open our thoughts. and look at the situation. What is going on? Are we having a distorted thought of what's going on at that particular time, or is there truly something going on that we need to address? And like I've been saying, we need to take that pause for a minute, overlook what we got going on. Ideally, take a quick minute, speak to Jesus, speak to God and ask Him for guidance through the situation. Ask Him for comfort and reassurance for those moments. And He will give those opportunities. We got to make sure we're willing to look and listen and accept those opportunities when we see them, okay? One of these things that I've said before is that we got to have tools in life that we can use. Just as much as a hammer is important to a carpenter or wrenches are to a mechanic, when we walk through this life, we got to have tools that help us spiritually, mentally, and those tools are given to us here in the Bible. Gives us the opportunity to learn from somebody else going through what we've gone through. How did they make it through that situation? And what we got to keep remembering, though, is we got to keep practicing those uses of those tools. And the more we practice, the more effort we put into that practice of those tools, that stronger that tool is going to be when we need it. So, for instance, I'll use my anger situations at moments. Instead of me just going to my usual outburst, maybe if I'm working on something and I'm struggling with it, set it down for a second, step back, get a drink of water, do something else for a minute, then come back into the situation. Most of the time I have found once I can get myself to do that project or whatever I'm working on goes so much smoother than if I sit there and I dwell on it and I work on it way harder than I needed to. Okay? So the same thing with depression. When we have that moment that we're feeling down, we're feeling like we're trying to isolate ourselves because we just need to step away, we got to remember to use our tool, whatever that tool is that you find, that we pull it out of our pocket. And as many times as we practice it, we know how to use that tool. Okay? And that's all in the individual. Somebody I talked to this morning, he meditates on how he breathes. And that helps him calm down, get back focused, to move forward. So that is something that you have to stay in the Word with and let the Lord show you what tools you can use. Okay? What I wanted to share with you for our last verse is going to be Acts 17, 22 to 25. And Paul is talking to some Greek philosophers. Actually, let's do a little bit. Let's go ahead there a little bit. Bear with me a second. So let's start with 22. Here we go. Sorry. So Paul, standing before the council, addressed them as follows: Men of Athens, I notice that you are very religious in every way. For as I was walking along, I saw your many shrines, and one of your altars had this inscription on it: to an unknown God. This God, whom you worship without knowing, is the one I'm telling you about. He is the God who made the world and everything in it. Since he is Lord of heaven and earth, he doesn't live in man-made temples. So, what Paul is trying to tell us here is that the Lord is everywhere. He is always around us no matter what the situation is. Noel and I were studying, it was either Jeremiah or Isaiah, I really can't remember the passage right off the top of my head, but it presented God as this vapor surrounding this person. And if we remember that, not always an easy thing to do, but if we remember that we have the vapor of God around us at all times, we can know that He is with us. He knows the situation we're going through, and He's going to find a way for us to pull up and out of that situation. So, in short, what I would like to reiterate is that don't feel, just because you battle with depression at whatever moment you have, don't feel that you are walking on that path by yourself. Remember that, Jesus is with us all the time. And it is very cliche to say just to pray to Him, but it is important. Praying to Him and knowing that we can pray to Him and we've seen results once we've prayed is that comfort that may help us out of a situation. Also, I've mentioned many times before, small groups and having people to reach out to when you're having a moment that is way stronger than a simple prayer for yourself. Reach out to friends, family, let them know what the struggle is that you got going on. Because, depression causes a lot of people to hide and step back away from everybody. And God has never ever intentioned anybody to be alone. He says it in the Bible, 2 are always better than 1, because we always have that other person to help pull us up out of whatever pit we're in. So that is my very big important stress point I really want you to know, is that always reach out. Keep a good connection to everybody that you have friends with, and to know that you're not alone on this path. And thank you, and have a wonderful night. Be blessed.